Hey there, guys. If you're watching this on the replay, probably just fast forward to about 60 seconds or a minute into this if you're watching this on the replay, because we're going to wait for everybody to join live. So just if you're watching on replay, fast forward to 60 seconds, okay? All righty. Let everybody join and we'll get rolling here. Hey, Juan. Hope you're doing great. Good evening. Good evening. Going to let everybody get in here, or at least everybody that can join. We'll let everybody get in here, and then we'll start doing a little Q&A, talking about some earnings coming up this week, which, my goodness, we got a lot of earnings going on, guys. We got a lot of earnings going on. But, yeah, so I'll let a few more people join, and then we'll get rolling. What's up? Hope you're doing great. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. Let's see here. Today we didn't really have any big earnings today, honestly, looking at it. It's really tomorrow that it gets going. Tomorrow through Friday is going to be crazy. But anyways, hope you guys are doing great. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these earnings I'm paying attention to, and then I'll do some Q&A for you guys. Juan says, broken all-time high today. That's what I'm talking about. Great job. Freaking awesome. Samuel says, ready for Tesla earnings. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Those should be coming on Wednesday. So about pretty much a little less than 48 hours from now. But anyway, so let's talk. I want to just talk a minute about some of these earnings I'm paying attention to this week, and then we'll get into just kind of some chit chat and just kind of like talking with you guys a little bit about everything. But as far as tomorrow goes, McDonald's is reporting earnings. Not that I really pay attention to McDonald's, but some of you guys might own McDonald's stock, so obviously that's a big one for you. Procter & Gamble, huge company there. UPS, very important to always pay attention to UPS earnings, because obviously in regards to UPS, they ship all over the world, and it's always important to see the commentary there and kind of see the numbers and whatnot around UPS, so that's going to be big. Chipotle's reporting tomorrow. Not that I care really that much. Snapchat's reporting. Don't really care too much about that one. That's been a super hot stock. Snapchat's been crazy hot, guys. Like, it's been ridiculous. Whirlpool's reporting tomorrow. I like to keep an eye on them. I've owned them in the past. They're a big appliance maker. And then iRobot is going to be reporting tomorrow after the bell. So that's going to be very important. I'm on the fence if I want to buy a little more iRobot before they report tomorrow. I mean, I already feel like it's a really, really good deal. I mean, the stock's down 50% roughly in the matter of a few months' time. So I might just hold off. And wait and see what happens with that earnings. I don't know. I haven't made up my total mind yet there. If I did buy, it wouldn't be like a ton. It might be like $5,000 worth or something like that. So that's what I'm kind of paying attention to tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we have, a few companies reporting, needless to say. So Caterpillar's reporting. Caterpillar is always important, ticker symbol CAT, by the way. Caterpillar is always very important to pay attention to, not regardless if you own the stock or not, just for the mere fact that they're a huge industrial company. They make, I would say they make more products, for construction and whatnot than probably any player in the world. So it's always important to hear a company like Caterpillar, what they have to say. Also a good dividend stock, and a relatively safe stock, Caterpillar is. So CAT is going to be a big one reporting tomorrow. We have Microsoft reporting. I don't own a Microsoft. Not that interested in it, but it's, I think, the largest market cap company in the world. So being that it's the largest market cap company in the world, we got to pay attention to it. Tesla obviously is reporting Wednesday. That's, I don't really need to say anything about that. PayPal's reporting, which PayPal I was looking into a little bit over the weekend. I'm starting to get a little interested in PayPal. Not anything, concrete yet, but, I'm looking into PayPal a little bit. Ford's reporting Wednesday. Don't really care about that one. eBay, used to own eBay, then I dropped out of it. We'll see what happens there with eBay numbers. LVS, Las Vegas Sands, is reporting. That's going to be important for my win position to see what happens there. I'm hoping it drops. I'm hoping the Macau names just kind of drop. I really want to pick up win under $100 a share. So we'll see what happens. Thursday, a lot of companies reporting Thursday. Not a lot that I'm really personally paying attention to. Amazing's reporting, Amazon's reporting, so always important to pay attention to Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world. So, I'll be paying attention to Amazon. Visa is going to be reporting. I always like to hear what Visa has to say, and there's a lot of other companies reporting on Thursday, but honestly, none of them are really like ones that I'm like, oh, I got to see what's happening there with those. And then as far as Friday goes, not a lot going. I mean, there's earnings certainly Friday, Verizon and VF Corp and some of those companies, but maybe the only one I might look into is maybe Goodyear. The tire company. So maybe Goodyear's worth a look. So it's a big week for earnings, but next week and the following week are even bigger. So if you think this is an earnings packed week, just wait till the next couple weeks, because the next couple weeks is when we get into the real big stuff. So with that being said, let me just kind of chat with you guys a little bit here. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Let me pull up messages here and see what you guys are chatting about. Juan says, seems risky to play that earnings call on iRobot. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I definitely wouldn't play it as an earnings play. It's just whether I want to build the position a little bigger before they report, just in case. Let's say they report numbers and the stock shoots up, which I have seen iRobot shoot up 20% plus on earnings before, several times. So, if it should, let's say I buy into let's say iRobot shoots up on earnings tomorrow, and it's up 20+%. Do I buy more iRobot? Probably not. And my position will probably be, done at that position at that point, as far as at least buying in more shares. So the question is if I want to buy some more just in case that happens. But on the flip side, you say, well, what if it was down huge on earnings? And yeah, it could be. And then I might want to go ahead and be in a situation where I could buy for a lot cheaper. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I was wondering if you could take us through your watch list. I think it would be nice to understand what stocks you're keeping an eye on. Okay, so yeah, we can do that. Let me just pull up my stock tracker app and I'll flip the camera around here. So, I mean, there's a lot of stocks. There's like 88 that I keep my eye on. So the first bunch is all going to be stocks I own. So Facebook, Skyworks Solutions, Cruise, Elf. And usually I kind of rank these in my biggest positions to smallest. And so all the way until we get to Texas Roadhouse, those are all positions I own. So Uber up, all positions I have. Oh, and then LB needs to be in there. I got mixed up here. LB needs to be in the ones I own. Oops. I think I own more LB than Uber. I don't know. No, I think I own more Uber than LB. So something like that. I don't know why I didn't save that, but whatever. I'm sure when I come back out of the app and then I go back in, it might come up here. Let's see. All right, so yeah, there we go. So yeah, the first bunch of stocks, those are all ones I own, and then starts Texas Roadhouse is like stocks I don't own. So, I mean, there's just a lot of stocks here that, and I kind of like the more toward the top they get, or the stocks that I'm keeping a closer eye on. Dang, Apple's at 240. I didn't even see that. Holy smokes, it hit 240 today, new all-time high. Good for Apple. Congrats to you guys that own Apple. And then, yeah, it's just a mess of stocks that I keep an eye on. ATVI might be interesting. That one's come back a lot. But I saw the new Call of Duty's coming out, and that kind of got me a little interested in ATVI. I don't know. I'm going to do a little work on ATVI tonight, Activision Blizzard, and kind of see what's going on there. LLNW continues to be hot. My goodness gracious. But yeah, this is just kind of like, everything I keep a close eye on and whatnot. You guys can check all these out here. Obviously, we're not going to talk about them all because that would take like 6 hours just talking about all these. Snap, look at Snap. Snap's just an animal right now. I don't know what's going on there. It's just ridiculous. GoPro, still keeping an eye on that one. GoPro is actually going to have a really good spring, I have a feeling, as far as their numbers go. That's a funny one there. Dang, Shop's still over 300. But yeah, so this is just kind of like watch list of different stocks I keep a close eye on. And that kind of ends it there for different reasons. And so then I have a dividend stock list here, which is kind of like dividend stocks I either own or keep an eye on. And this one's just for the dividend stocks. So there's that there. So, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm contemplating buying a little more iRobot tomorrow. But I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. I think I might need to give you something to drink. Let's see. Education says I have about 12K to buy, but at the moment, just on the sidelines. Thanks for sharing that. Geraldo says, what do you think of Facebook at 185? I think it's still a deal. I don't think it's as good of a deal as when I got in the stock, but it's still a steal in my opinion. You know, probably the easiest money one can make in the stock market is probably Facebook stock right now. When I just look at it, I think it's, you know, the risk reward is just so attractive in my opinion with Facebook stock. It's really unbelievable. Corey says, what is your opinion on FedEx? You owned it before, now it dropped a lot. Any reason you're not interested? As far as FedEx goes, it's, you know, it's a tough one because I feel like FedEx has really limited growth. And so that's, you know, I hate kind of getting in some of these stocks that have really limited growth unless they have a forward P under 10. And I don't think FedEx, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think FedEx is at a forward P under 10. I think FedEx forward P was at like 11 or so last time I looked. But let me know, guys. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. Because if it is, if FedEx has a forward P under 10, then I would actually be probably interested. But last time I looked, it was like 11 or maybe 12 forward P on FedEx. And for what I feel like is probably a limited growth company like FedEx, I'm not that interested. So I don't know if any of you guys have Yahoo Finance or something and don't mind looking at the statistics for FedEx, ticker symbol FDX. Just let me know if that one's, you know, what the forward P is on there. But yeah, I mean, usually if it has very limited growth to no growth, any stock in general, it's got to have a forward P under 10 for me to really get that interested in it, to be honest. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to drink. I think I'll just have some water for now. Let's see. Corey says, I think Facebook at 185, still good for long term. If you don't own any, good start a small position. Eric says, yes, please do a video on a line in ATVI. Chandler says, Jeremy, can you correct positive investing that you don't hold 10 to 20% cash and brokerage? Oh, yeah, I did. I left him a comment on his video, you know, just letting him know that. But, you know, I can understand that he'd be confused about that. Rafael says, why doesn't anyone talk about transportation companies? Is it because they are not profitable? What do you mean by transportation companies? Are you talking about like trucking companies, or what type of transportation are you talking about? Are you talking about like the railroads? Usually they just don't get a lot of attention because they're honestly usually kind of boring stocks. They don't have a lot of growth usually. Usually they're very profitable. Like if you look at the railroads, if you look at a lot of the trucking companies, very profitable companies. But at the same time, you know, there's usually very limited growth with a lot of those names. And transportation industry in general has a lot of disruption happening right now. So something just to keep in mind there. Samuel says you should do another challenge to all YouTubers. One you did last week was fun about talking about your public account. Yeah, I mean I always like to hear other people's opinions and whatnot, especially other creators. So I thought it was pretty cool. Eric says if Facebook were to be broken up by the government, would it be impactful on Facebook's business model? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know how Facebook would do. I mean, I don't even know how the government would do that. It would be a mess. It'd be a mess. And that's probably why they don't do it. You know, if you're talking about breaking up Facebook, then you got to break up Amazon. And if you got to break up Amazon, then you got to break up Apple. And if you break up Apple, then you got to break up Google. And it's like, where do you stop? If you're going to break up the companies, you got to break them all up as far as the big dogs. And then you got to break up Microsoft. And then the question is, where do you stop? Then do you have to break up Uber? Then do you have to break up Tesla? Like, where do you stop? And so then it's just, you know, so the government kind of has to stay out of that just because it's going to, if they do this one, then they have to do the next one. And it's just a mess. Do you have any opinions on the cloud stocks? I've been tracking Zscaler, looks very interesting. No, not really. What's so interesting about that stock? I would love to hear. One, are they profitable? And two, what's their revenue growth looking like? Rafe says, would you know what's going on with the First Group in the UK in their sale of Greyhound in the US? That I have no clue about. I'll be completely honest. I don't know anything about that. What's going on there? Corey, FedEx, forward P of 10.92. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's really close. If it drops under 10, then I'm very interested in FedEx because they are a dividend paying stock, consistent business model, and if I can get it for forward P under 10, now we're really talking. But for a limited growth stock like FedEx, I really want it under 10. Because then risk reward is super attractive to me. It's kind of attractive at about 11 where it's at now, but under 10, that's when it gets real interesting. Mario says, can I access this from my desktop? I believe you can. Rafa says disruption as in autonomous driving. Correct. Autonomous driving is going to be disrupting. You have companies like Uber disrupting the whole entire industry with products like Uber Freight. So you have things like Tesla's going to be, coming out with their semi within the next year or so. They're talking about possibility of doing something where the semis could, multiple semis could be behind each other. So meaning it's almost like a train on the road, where it's like they're all like basically on one semi. It's hard to explain. They're almost all on one semi. And it's kind of controlling the whole thing, but there's multiple trailers behind it. So, we'll see what happens with that, but there absolutely is definitely a lot of disruption that will happen over the next 5 years there. Mario says, also, what do you think about Infosys? That one I don't track, so I would have to look into that one for you and see what's going on there. Geraldo says, what's your favorite retail stock? There's not a lot in retail I like, but I mean, if I had to pick one of physical retailers, I'd probably go with Nordstrom. But yeah, there's not a lot to like in physical retail. Curious on your thoughts on CBRE long term. CBRE, oh gosh, let's see here. CBRE. CBRE Group. I feel like I've heard the name before. Let's see what they do. Oh, real estate. Operates as a commercial. That's where I've heard it before. Real estate, a commercial real estate company. I'm like, I know I've heard that, CBRE before. Commercial real estate. So, commercial real estate players, it's nothing bad about them, but usually, and I can almost guarantee you with the CBRE, usually there's a very, very limited growth with these type of companies. Let's go in and see, unless they acquire another big, commercial player or something like that. Usually there's lack of growth there. This one has at least expected 9.8% this year and 7.6% next year. That's pretty strong, which is interesting. Because usually, as far as like physical retail and commercial retail, it's not like in a very good place right now, despite the economy being pretty strong. Because you just think about a lot of the, places that have gone out of business that were physical retailers and whatnot. Looking at a forward P of 13 on that one. It's interesting. I don't know where they're getting that growth from other than acquisitions. That's super interesting. I don't know if maybe they're getting a lot more for their rent, but if anything, I would think rent's going to be going down soon. If there's less players in each market and whatnot, I would think there would be less players. But there would be less rent. It means, they have to charge even less. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. Let me go up here. What's more important between cash flow, value, growth, profitability, and assessing a long-term position on a stock? I'm not the biggest fan of questions like that because it puts one against the other, and it's like everything has to be important when looking at a stock. You can't really say, well, just because this one has this, they're all important, honestly. You got to have growth, in my opinion, at least, unless you're not a growth investor. But I like 10% plus growth expected in a stock. I like profitability in most of my stocks. I love, good cash flow. I love, to be a fair price. They're all important. They're all extremely important. The ideal situation is a high growth stock that's at a low forward P and you know, has great cash flow and all those sorts of things. That's the ideal situation. Doesn't always work out that way. United Rentals, ticker UI. They rent out porta potties, lifts, cranes, and various kinds of construction equipment. Forward P of 6.3, trailing of 8.97. That's pretty interesting. UI. Haven't looked into them in about 100 years. Oops. It must be UL. It can't be UI. No, UL's Unilever. UI. I don't know why it won't come up for me. United Rentals. Oh, URI for United Rentals. There's a ticker symbol there. Dang, that's super interesting. Let's look at here. United Rentals. Yeah, 6.43 forward PE. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. They must have a ton of debt or something. There's got to be something wrong here. That seems too low. That seems way too low. Really impressive revenue growth. They must have bought a company or something because that's insane. Revenue growth. But yet their EPS dropped. That's interesting. Let's look at the balance sheet here. Let me flip the camera. So we're looking at United Rentals. 60 million cash. It's not very much for a company this size. Oh gosh, look at that. Over 10 billion in debt. Oh gosh. Over 10 billion in debt and only 60 million cash. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I can understand why it's at that low of a PE. I mean, when you're talking about you're running your business that tight and you're that debt laden with that little of cash on the balance sheet, you have to trade at really, really low forward PEs. And I can understand why United Rental is trading around there. Gosh, like that's rough, man. That's a rough there. I'm trying to see if they pay a dividend or not. Let's see here. No, they don't pay a dividend. If it paid a dividend, maybe it's worth a risk. But for me, I'm not trying to buy into a company that has over 10 billion in debt, only 60 mil cash. That's running the business way too tight, in my opinion. Way too tight. Let me get messages back up and rolling here. Have you bought Ethereum yet? I have not. So you don't think it is likely that the government will break it up? You know, you never know. You know, it depends on who's in charge of the government. I doubt it, but you know, government can be unpredictable. Thing is, government can never get anything done as it is. So how the hell are they going to try to get done a breakup of big tech companies? Like, they can't even do anything as it is. They have trouble enough accomplishing simple stuff. Never mind the breakup of a massive tech company that employs, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. You know, it's a little unrealistic, but all things are possible. Dylan says, I'm about 5 minutes behind in a live stream. Haven't seen FedEx truck in 2 years. Heard UPS getting drone delivery. Thought of that as a potential catalyst. That's crazy. You haven't seen a FedEx truck in 2 years. I see one every day. How can you tell if a business is shutting down? If they, well, I mean, if they have no money left in the balance sheet and they can't raise money, and if they're unprofitable, then they're probably going to shut down. Tom says URI. I'm sorry. No, that's no problem at all. Found it. Have you looked into hydrogen fuel cells for powering EVs at all? I have not. Have you looked into stocks like ServiceNow, Workday? I did look into Workday. Splunk, I have not. Workday, I did. And if I recall, I just didn't like the valuation. I believe they were unprofitable, if I recall. It's been a little while. There should be plenty of stocks to buy around Halloween. Could be. Never know. Do you think call centers are the next jobs going to be replaced by AI? they're already, in a great deal of call center related tasks have been replaced by machines over the past 15 years. I mean, a lot of times now, if you call, a company, you don't even get a person, you get, a machine that tells you, dial this number for this, dial this number for this. And then you get another machine after that says, okay, now they narrow it down even more. So it's already happening, and it'll just continue to happen more and more. Juan says, can you give an opinion on Citigroup? Seems like a decent deal at the moment. So Citigroup is just like all the other financials, in my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of financials, especially Citigroup. If I had to buy a financial, I'm probably buying JP Morgan and maybe Goldman Sachs. But, their balance sheets are a mess. You never know where they end. They're the financials. I'm just not a fan of the financials. They're too big, and it's just, I don't know. I've never liked financials, honestly. The only financial I've ever owned, Goldman Sachs, and I'm not even the biggest fan of them. Will Brexit have any impact on U.S. stocks? It probably already has a little bit. I was wondering how long you plan on holding your retail positions. I didn't really go in with like a plan of I'm going to hold it for this many months or this many years or something. So right now I'm just kind of like, I liked holding them as far as, I think the only retailers I hold is Nordstrom and TPR. I like holding them just because, man, they pay out a lot of dividend money. They're doing really good as far as the performance too, but really dividend plays, man. They pay me out big yields, both of those stocks. So I don't really have any plans to sell them anytime soon, but who knows, if let's say the market got really rough, maybe I would sell them just to buy something else I like better for the long term. Eric says, why would a company have a P ratio of 19,000 or NA if they're just starting to get profitable or if they don't make profits? That's why they would. Peter says, love you, Jeremy. I enjoyed seeing you take part in Ale's video. Super happy to hear that. Geraldo says, thoughts on Pepsi Bubbly? I've shared my thoughts many times there. They're going to be a tough competitor to LaCroix. Tough competitor. They're going to be battling out for who's going to be number one, who's going to be number two. How you feeling about iRobot lately? About the same as I have been feeling there. Bullish long term. Hoping it goes down. Big on earnings so I can get a much bigger position built. Are you on the Yang Gang? I have been looking into him a lot. He's got some interesting ideas there. I like how he is a little more focused on, some of the more concrete numbers and whatnot and data rather than just kind of like going after votes and whatnot. So it is interesting. Dylan says they've been around for a long time. Yeah, CBRE, CB, Richard Ellis. I see their name on rentable offices and corporate buildings. Yep. Eric says, I thought about starting a position on Fizz or iRobot, but I'm very concerned about competition. Yeah, and I mean, that's always, should definitely be something that's thought about in regards to these stocks is, what's the competitive landscape like? And for LaCroix, they have Bubbly as the main competition. They have some other, they obviously have the store brands, which are competition a little bit. And then they have, Waterloo. I've seen them be a competitor, but the main competitor to LaCroix is going to be Bubbly, it looks like. They're going to be battling out to see who's number one and number two in that market long term. At least that's the way it looks to me. So Corey says, have you looked into Xilinx? Again, I have not. They dropped about 30% from 52-week high, but still up about 10% year to date. I haven't really. Xilinx was a super interesting one I was doing research in last year. $24 billion market cap, forward P of 23 there. Expected to grow, low double digits this year and low double digits next year. I'm going to have to do more research on Xilinx. Because I've heard some things about Xilinx where some people have said they might be able to beat NVIDIA in some of the markets they're competing in, which is amazing. So I got to really research more into Xilinx. That's a complicated business model to understand for someone like myself. So I'm going to need to spend significant amounts of time, but it might be worth it. Because when we're talking about a $24 billion company, and we're talking about a company that supposedly could beat NVIDIA at some of these huge things that are going to be huge, massive things in the future, that's really freaking exciting. Like, you know, we're talking about if that's a possibility, you know, they could become a massive tech company in the future. So I got to do a lot of research work there. I need to. That needs to be like top priority pretty much for me. Only thing is, it's hard to research companies right now because there's going to be so many earnings about to come out, but I'm going to need to get it done. Juan says, what price are you waiting for Texas Roadhouse? I would like 47 and under. 45 and under would be the best case scenario. Have you looked at Apollo Group APO? I have not. I have not looked into them at all. But anyways, guys, I think I'm going to run. Been on there about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and release a YouTube video right now. But, you know, ask me any questions that we didn't get to in here. Ask me them in the Discord chat. But I got a video coming out on YouTube right now. It's going to be very interesting. I think you guys should watch. It actually has nothing to do with stock market investing, but it's around passive income and building passive income streams and whatnot for beginners. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out that video. It's coming out on the main channel. I'll release it like right now as soon as I'm done this live stream. You know, I think it's, you know, it kind of teaches you and puts you in a mindset of like active income versus passive income. Not a lot of people understand that. And, you know, passive income, my life really changed when I really started to understand passive income and ways to build passive income streams and whatnot. So definitely check out that video if you got the time. It'll come out on the main channel right now. So anyways, chat with you guys later. Ask me any questions on the Discord that we didn't get